Welcome back, Endgame family. We are wrapping up another week of baseball and fantasy baseball, but more importantly, getting you ready for the week ahead because hopefully at this point you've already won your matchup. Hopefully you're not, stressing some kind of last minute decision. Maybe you're sweating your matchup, who knows, but it's time to look ahead to next week. And one of the things we like to do is talk about two-start streamers, pitchers that are making two starts who can help you twice during the week, which, by the way, I'm finding I really, really enjoy, and it's really helped my team streaming the pitchers and getting the two starters. So rather than do a video, because if you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't checked out the channel today or yesterday, Pierre dropped his top 50 rest of season starting pitcher rankings. So go check that out. But if you're looking for some streamers, we're going to talk about that right now. So let's go down your list. Pierre, we'll go one by one. We'll just kind of go through them fairly quickly, talk about why you like them. We'll start in order. Gavin Stone right now on Yahoo, 45% rostered, 72% on CBS, and 35% on ESPN. What is it about Gavin Stone that you like this week?
I've been liking Gavin Stone for the last couple of weeks. I mean, I feel like every time he is a two-start streamer, I'm putting him up there. And it's just funny how it works out, I guess, because of the schedule. Some guys just keep showing up over and over again, and he's one of them. And until further notice, I'd say he's not just a good streamer, but he's a pretty solid pickup in most leagues. The question really with him isn't, is he trustworthy? Can he get the job done? It's just how long will he stay in the rotation? Because, of course, Walker Buehler coming back from injury, Miller's coming back from injury. As soon as that happens, may not be a spot for him. They may still go 6-man rotation. They probably should. But look, he's earned the right to be in that rotation. He's been solid all season long. He hasn't really had many bad starts. Now, his very last start, his most recent, was not a quality start. It was close. He gave up 4 runs in 6 innings. But before that, man, he had a string of almost a month of starts where he didn't give up more than 2 runs in a start. I mean, just solid is the word that defines him. And now, not spectacular because you're not getting amazing strikeout numbers, but when a guy's helping you with ratios that much, and still, even despite his last start not being that great, 2.5 ERA in the month of May, 116 WHIP. I mean, that's pretty much as good as you can ask for out there on the waiver wire. So I almost don't care the schedule. When I look at a pitcher like him, I feel pretty good about him, but gets at the Mets. Nothing scary there. They're still kind of trying to figure things out. And then he gets Colorado. It's a pretty good matchup for a pitcher. So, yeah, Stone's definitely going to be my favorite if he's out there. And I scooped him up a couple weeks ago, whatever league he was available. I mean, he really shouldn't be floating out there unless it's a shallow league. But still, for some reason, owned in fewer than half of Yahoo leagues.
Yes, he is. So if he's out there, go get him. Number 1 streamer. Number 2, you got Robert Gasser of the Brewers. He's almost 60% rostered on Yahoo, almost 80% on CBS, and 40% in ESPN. Now, I actually did pick him up a few weeks ago. He's been mostly good. Wasn't too good this week earlier against Miami, but you're liking him to bounce back this week. He's got a pretty nice schedule.
Yeah, and of course, just when you expect the guy's going to have his best start yet, he doesn't. Marlins should have been a gimme, but bad teams have good games sometimes, and most importantly, you just have to know this. I don't know how many times I keep saying this. It does not matter how good the pitcher is. A rookie pitcher will not be good every time out. They will have bad starts, especially, someone who's not, let's say, a high-end prospect, and we're not talking Paul Skeens here. This guy's not throwing 102. It's quite the opposite. He's getting by with his pitch mix. He's getting by with his off-speed stuff. In fact, his velocity is below league average. But it doesn't matter. He knows how to get hitters out. So far in 3 starts, he's been mostly good. And I think you have to look at it as what it is. A rookie pitcher, just wasn't on his game. Because, again, this is his 3rd start ever in the majors. It happens. It just happens, okay? You just have to accept it and move on. Doesn't mean all of a sudden he's bad. He gets 2 really good matchups against Chicago teams. I don't need to even explain why the White Sox is a dream matchup. So you can roll anybody out there probably against the White Sox, and you say, okay, yeah, that's good. And then the Cubs offense has been really trying to find itself still lately, even with guys coming back from injury, just not all hitting at once. So I like Gasser this week. He's probably going to be my second favorite, which is probably why we're talking about him second.
Yes, and then talk about a guy with a good schedule this week, Taiwan Walker, who is only 43% rostered on Yahoo, 74 on CBS, and only 14% on ESPN. San Francisco and St. Louis. So is this just because of the schedule, or do you also like the pitcher?
Well, let's go to the other extreme here, right? This is a veteran pitcher. It's not a guy who's been good, really. If you look at the numbers, you just might look away and say, okay, what are you talking about this guy for? I get that, right? Taiwan Walker has been, hard to nail down throughout his career. I mean, so promising when he was young, and then so many injuries. And like, this should be a great situation because he's with the best team in the league right now, the Phillies. He's been pretty rough, especially the last couple of starts. He's coming off some of his least effective starts, but he actually wasn't as bad as the numbers look. Last week, he was on his way potentially to a quality start. He kind of ran into trouble late. But I'm going to believe that he's starting to figure things out and settle down this year. This is a risky one. I'll say this. If this is mostly the schedule, all right, just going to confess, right? This is the schedule. Let's see if he can figure things out. I think that he's still going to be somebody that you can get potentially wins and quality starts from, because before his last couple of starts, he actually had started out the season mostly good. It's been tough to really predict, but I think he can pull out this. If you're looking for wins, particularly, I think he's probably your best option.
All right, there you go. So a little bit better in wins leagues. Now, a guy who's been, I've actually streamed him a few times this season with mixed results. Simeon Woods Richardson, pretty widely available. I mean, only 39% on Yahoo, 68% on CBS, and only 16% on ESPN. He gets KC and Houston this week. So why do you like him this week as a 2-starter?
Yeah, he's another one. Anybody here who watches the videos on the regular, I've talked about him multiple times on the waiver wire and the 2-start streamers. I mean, it's very simple with him. Like, he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, but he's good otherwise. I mean, that's it. If you're looking for a high K rate, no, he's not going to get it for you. But always gives his team and your fantasy team a chance for a win and a quality start. The ratios are low. He just hasn't really had any bad starts. That's, again, I say this all the time. This is almost more important. What you're looking for isn't just a guy you think could be dominant, could have a really strong start. You're looking for a guy who will not get blown up. A guy won't hurt you, because these are streamers. These are not the guys you're depending on to be the ace of your staff. You don't need them. You shouldn't need them to go out and get you 10 strikeouts, get you a complete game. Like, you just want them to give you a little bump, right? Maybe get you that extra win. Maybe get you, a few innings that can lower your ratios. That's what he can do. He can go 5-6 innings, not get blown up. And I think that, again, with him, I almost don't care the schedule. But KC, strong schedule there. At Houston, a little riskier, but also I think he's a guy I feel good enough about. Again, compared to the rest of these potential streamers, I'll take Wood Richardson, even in a tougher matchup, as opposed to some of these other very fringy guys in what looks like better matchups.
All right, there you go. And then getting a little bit deeper here, we've got Alec Marsh. He's got at Minnesota and then against the Padres, only 21% rostered on Yahoo, 49 on CBS, and 7% on ESPN. So out there in a lot of leagues. Why do you like him this week?
Well, this is getting deeper. This is somebody I'm not necessarily crazy about. So I will say this is if those other options are taken. But hey, Marsh has had a good year so far on the season. ERA of 2.72, a whip just barely over 1. So he's delivered. He's definitely a little bit more on the soft tosser side. And of course, I say that guy almost throws 94 miles an hour. So yeah, but compared to some of these other young pitchers, he's not getting by with his heat. That's not what he does. But his off-speed pitches have been really effective. He pitches when he's at home in what's more of a pitcher's park. That's for sure. So at Minnesota, a little risky. Minnesota has been better offensively, but they are starting to kind of come back down to earth. And then San Diego, I like this matchup a lot better now, because even though the Padres were a team you didn't want to stream against early in the season, Bogarts is out, for a while. That Machado has been pretty cold lately. This is an offense that really is not clicking as much. So I think it's not going to be a bad matchup. And it is in KC, that game. So again, another guy that he's out there because he's not getting a ton of strikeouts, and he plays for a team that doesn't necessarily get a lot of wins, but he's 4-1. And so that still tells you, it's easy to just look, he's a Royals pitcher, he's probably not going to win. He's got more wins than some pitchers on good teams, right? It's not just about the overall standings. So I think he's a very solid pick too. Get a little deeper.
All right, there you go. So those are Pierre's top 5 2-start streamers this week. Of course, if there's other guys, maybe you're in deeper leagues and they're not available, you're looking at other pitchers, drop those questions and we'll talk about those guys. Now, unfortunately, we have some bad news. One of the best fantasy players, one of the best hitters in baseball, left today's game with a non-contact, I guess it was a knee injury. And already it's been announced he's going to go to the 10-day IL. That was fast. Panic level on Ronald Acuna right now. 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10. Like, how freaked out are we?
If you took your the 1.1 and you had the number 1 pick, you took Ronald Acuna. Yeah, you're pretty worried. But here's the good news: is it's the 10-day IL, not the 60-day. Of course, that takes a while, even if it's serious. I know, but from what I can tell, what I read, again, this is very preliminary report. This just happened a couple hours ago, right? So what they're saying is this sounds and feels like it's more like the injury he had in 2018 when he missed about a month, that it might be a sprain. And it's not like his ACL tear that he had a couple of years ago, where, of course, he missed an entire year. So we're looking, hopefully, at more of a short-term IL stay, not gone for the season. So I guess we could breathe a little sigh of relief, although, again, things could change tomorrow. I'm not promising you anything. I'm not going to play fantasy doctor. There's plenty of those on Twitter. So it doesn't sound like you have to completely, tear down your team and, quit for the season because your best player's gone. It looks like he'll be back, but it's going to be a couple weeks. So how do you replace Ronald Acuna? Well, you don't, but you're going to have to try to slap together something. So again, you're just going to have to be active on the waiver wire. Unless, look, maybe you're in dead last place and like this was the last straw. Okay, fine. I get it. Maybe you're just like done, but you can always compensate. You can always catch up, make some smart trades, make some waiver wire moves. I know it seems like the end of the world, but look, also think about this. You're losing this year's version of Ronald Acuna, not last year's version. Like, he wasn't leading the league in every category. He'd only had 4 home runs. I mean, it's not like it's a huge drop off compared to what it was if you had Ronald Acuna last year. So I guess that's maybe some small consolation.
Okay. I'm sure that helps. Probably not. Probably not.
Probably
All
not.
right, let's talk about a guy who maybe, possibly, hopefully, finally, Julio Rodriguez. We have a sighting. We have a Julio Rodriguez sighting after another week of nothing. What did he had 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4 with no counting stats. Well, he had 2 for 4 with one counting stat, 1 for 4 with a counting stat, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, looking like typical Julio. Yesterday, 1 for 4, but that one was a home run at least. And then how about today? 3 for 5, a home run, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. Is this it? Are we all the way? This is it? It's happening, or is it just we're going to see 0 for 4s again next week?
Probably a little of both. I mean, I don't know that we can just say like, hey, this is Julio, or we don't know. The guy's been in the league, 3 years? Come on. He doesn't have to wait till August to go off just because that's what he did last year, right? He could heat up now. I saw they were saying they had a players meeting a team meeting. The manager was there too. They had a team meting and the manager's like, hey, let's play better. And like, that's it. That's all it took.
That's all you need.
That's it. He's like, guys, let's try getting hits. Like, all right. Thanks, coach.
Manager of the year.
Yeah. This team was already in first place. It's not like they were playing badly. It's just their hitters were not hitting the way they should. Look, Julio, it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time. He'll go on a binge, right? He'll go on a heater right now. It might not last for a month. It might not last the rest of the season. He'll still sprinkle some 0-4s in there. But look, talked about buying low in Julio for, I don't know, 3 weeks straight. If you didn't buy low in Julio, probably too late now. That's okay if you didn't or you couldn't. But certain players, this is why you don't drop Randy Arozarena. You don't just give up on players like that. Corbin Carroll, I know he's been bad, but don't drop him. Just give these guys a little bit of time. All right. It's a long season. So I think Julio is getting there. It's not like he was, actively, you might disagree with me, Chris, actively hurting your team that much. He was getting his steals. He wasn't hitting below 200. He was just not yet there with the power. Now he's getting there with the power. So I think
he wasn't hitting below. I'm actually surprised he wasn't hitting below 200. What's his season at? So he's up to two. He's up to 252. He's up to 252.
There's plenty of guys who hit lower than that.
Well, that is true. That is true. But they give you more than 3 home runs. I guess 4 now, and whatever. But anyways, he'll be fine. I mean, we knew Julio wasn't going to be as bad as he had been the first 2 months.
No.
I still have my doubts if Julio is going to be what people think he's going to be, but we shall see. We shall see. But at least right now, you're feeling good if you did buy low, or if you've been holding on to Julio and he's trying to claw you out of last place, you're feeling pretty good right now.
True. I feel that too. Honestly, there's besides our league, there is a league where I have Julio and I think right now in last place. It's not the only reason. I mean, there's a couple of other guys who are struggling, but yeah, it's true. But that's why I say it's never too late.
Call it a coincidence, but since our trade, I haven't lost. I have not lost a matchup since I traded away Julio. I didn't win a matchup with Julio. I didn't win a matchup with Julio, so
win-win.
Okay, but you're not here to listen to us talk about our fantasy teams. We're here to help you with your fantasy teams. So let's get to those questions, but really quick, do want to remind you once again, if you haven't tried Underdog Fantasy yet, not sure what you're waiting for, got your baseball picks right there. Another way to get your baseball fix. Just make sure if you go to Underdog Fantasy and you haven't joined yet, use promo code ENDGAME when you sign up because they're going to give you a special pick'em, a free pick'em, and a bonus up to $250 in bonus cash that you can use right away. And they have every sport, NBA, NHL, of course, NFL drafts going on. They'll have NFL pick'ems, tennis, golf, you name it. They've got it. It's a ton of fun. Definitely go check it out. Now, get to your questions, and this is a good segue to let you know if you don't want to wait around for your question to get answered, or you just want to say thanks, or you just want to support the channel, you can always drop a super chat of any amount, and we will answer your question first. We'll try to get to as many as we can, even if it's not a super chat, but if you're impatient and you want to jump the line or just say thank you, drop that super chat. All right, Antoine, what's up? Ozzie and Walker for Kettle in head-to-head points league. Kettle. Which side are you taking?
Are you giving up the 2 just to get Ketel Marte? If so, no, not worth it. Honestly, I know Marte's been great to start the season. I'm still taking Ozzie over him straight up. And even if you say, okay, maybe they're comparable, you're giving up another hitter to get him. So, yeah, if you're offering the 2-for-1, nah, don't do it. Not worth it.
All right, and then he's got another one. What does he do with Machado? It's a head-to-head points league, and this guy strikes out a ton.
Yeah, he's not as valuable in a points league, but it is head-to-head, so it doesn't hurt you in the long run as much. I know I mentioned him actually at the top, right? We're talking about the Padres offense. He's definitely on a cold streak. Now, I wasn't really thrilled about Machado this year because, he had that elbow surgery in the offseason. He doesn't steal your bases anymore. You're relying on that power. He still has the power. He actually started out pretty well. He's just slumping. So I think you might have to just kind of grit it out and deal with him for another week or 2 until he picks it up. I think he will pick it up. This is still an elite hitter. I think he'll be okay. I mean, what do you do with him? You're not dropping him. I hope. Don't drop him. and this is not the time to sell because you're probably selling low. So, you can try. You could, even when guys like this do slump, you're talking about somebody who's been an elite player for several years. Name value does mean something, right? Some people think, oh, I'm buying low here. So you can try to make an offer, but I would just say don't sell low. Realistically, probably just going to have to kind of write it out with him.
All right, there you go. Thanks for the questions. Appreciate it. Owen's got a question. Wants to trade Seth Lugo. Who should I trade Seth Lugo for? So who's somebody he should be looking to give back?
I can tell. And Owen, maybe because you saw the top 50 rest of the season rankings, I barely squeezed Lugo in there at number 50, if I remember. And some people were a little offended by that. Like, look, come on. This is not some young up-and-coming pitcher who's on his way. He's been around forever. We know what Seth Lugo is. You look at his numbers right now. That's not what Seth Lugo is. Like, Seth Lugo's ERA will go up. I guarantee at some point. Again, I've always liked Seth Lugo, but I've always been disappointed because he never quite put it together over a full season. Is this the year at age, I don't know, I'm going to guess 32, 33? Look it up. That he all of a sudden is like, okay, now, he's 34. Is this the year where all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to put it together. I'm going to have a Cy Young season. I'm going to go with probably not. So, look, I would definitely try to sell high, as what I said on the video. Who can you get for him? You should be able to get something fairly good because of how he's pitched. But honestly, I would say be careful because this depends. It depends on who you're playing with. If you're playing with somebody who's been around and, watch baseball and play fantasy baseball for a long time, they're probably not going to take Seth Lugo, for somebody who's like a veteran that's, maybe kind of underwhelming. Like even like a Kevin Gausman. Like you look at Gausman and you look at Lugo, like, oh, of course, why wouldn't I take Lugo? Most people will probably say, I'd rather have Lugo, but I'd rather have Gausman. I'll put it that way. I'd rather get the buy low than the sell high side of things. So I also don't want to sell him for a guy who's now, kind of very fringe risky. Like let's say, no, that's probably not even a good option. I would say I would try to target like a Hunter Green. Somebody who's like in the middle of my rankings, somebody who maybe people don't fully buy into because either hasn't done it, on a prolonged basis. Mackenzie Gore. I'd rather have Mackenzie Gore than Seth Lugo. Mackenzie Gore is not even universally owned in fantasy, which still kind of blows my mind, but I would rather have him. So if you can get one of those players, a Brian Wu, that might be a good choice. Somebody like that.
All right, there you go. Good luck, Owen. And I missed this from Harry talking about two start streamers. Not much on his waiver wire, so he's going with Cole Irvin and Christopher Criswell. Is that his name? Christopher Criswell?
Cooper. Like Cooper Criswell.
Cooper. That's right. Cooper Criswell. How do you feel about them this week? Starters.
I'm looking at because Irvin, there's Cole Irvin, but there's also Jake Irvin. I'm wondering which one it was. It might be Jake, if I remember seeing him, like he might be on the list. And I considered putting him, and I don't love his schedule, but look, if that's what you had to do. That's what you had to do. Criswell, I was off of. In fact, I used some picks against Criswell last start of his on Underdog. I did some MLB picks, and he wound up having a really good game, so I regretted it. So, I don't think those are the worst choices. But that's what you got. That's what you got.
All right, and then said, what's up? How long are we holding on to Pajas? I think we talked about this last week too. Are we still holding him? I know he came through with that like home run, but how's he been since?
Yeah, not great. I think he's down to like 232 or something like that batting average. He's definitely come down to earth, but he's still playing. He's still in the lineup. He's going. Okay, yeah, he's playing is number one. That's the most important. He's in arguably the best lineup in baseball. That's good, but you got to get hits, right, to actually make it matter. I think it depends. If you're talking about how long to hold on to him, it depends on who else is out there. I don't think he's a must hold. I don't think in a non-keeper league you have to hold on to him. So I wouldn't drop him for the sake of dropping him, but if he has somebody better out there, I think it's fine.
All right, there you go. And how about this one from Jared? We drop in the reigning Cy Young winner for Gavin Stone.
Man, I feel like Snell is one of those players you just don't drop, even if you don't expect great things from him. Like, I feel like you should be able to get something for him in the trade market. I mean, I think I trust Gavin Stone more than Blake Snell at this point, but I just don't know if I'm dropping Snell. Somebody's got to want Snell. Somebody will give you something for him, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so. Try to trade him. All right, another one from Harry. I feel like I know where you're going to go with this, but would you drop Springer? Okay, I'll tell you how bad Springer's been. I dropped Springer last Sunday in our Yahoo league, and he's still sitting there on waiver wire. He's still sitting there. Yeah, I'm even going to say you can drop George Springer for James Wood.
Yeah, and what has he done to make you regret that? Nothing.
I haven't even looked. I mean, I don't think there's anything he could do to make me regret it. Like
he's
0 for 4, 1 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 1 for 2, 1 for 4, 0 for 4. Yeah, no.
No. You can drop Springer. I think I said a week ago, or maybe it was more, just that's fine, drop Springer. Yeah, something's going on there. And honestly, they need to. There's some rumors, oh, maybe they'll do something that Toronto shake it up, make some trades and, blow it up. Yeah, do it. You need to. I mean, look, the talent level isn't the question here. It's like you need production at some point. You have a bunch of guys who should be doing this, should be, but they're not. And how long are you going to keep this core together? It's obviously not working. So I know that they're stuck with Springer because of his contract, but you don't have to be stuck with him on your fantasy team. Just should drop him.
Actually, it's funny. His roster percentage is all the way down to 75% on Yahoo. It's like, yeah, it's not. You're not the only one dropping them. All right, a couple from Wilson. First of all, what's wrong with Corbin Carroll? This is our weekly Corbin Carroll question. Is it his shoulder? What's going on here?
That it must be, right? It must be that. It's not his legs. He's still running fine, and it's a lot of it's the power. The lift isn't there. I mean, it's just logical. It must be something shoulder related. So I can't promise you that he's going to turn it around. All of a sudden, he's going to have this amazing second half. With Julio, the markers were theirs. He was still hitting the ball hard. He was just not having good outcomes. His launch angle was a little bit off, but also it's like, he's going to get it going. With Corbin Carroll, it's not that same. There's a lot of metrics that point to the fact he's just not getting quality contact. And that's concerning. I mean, he doesn't have to be a power hitter, right? Because his main thing is average and speed. But he's not hitting even close to anything for average because he's not getting enough line drives. So what's wrong? I don't know. You're probably right, Wilson. It's probably shoulder related. I still don't feel like you just drop a player like that just in case. But man, it's probably the most accurate. He's probably the most aggravating out of the early draft busts.
And then he wants to know, is James Wood worth the stash? Are we ever going to see James Wood? I mean, or are they just like trying to cut his service time?
Oh, they surely are. I mean, look, we might not see him till September. We really might not. But if you can stash a player, because you never know, it happens all the time. Get these surprise call-ups at the time you least expect it. If you got somebody who's more imminent that is being stashed right now, okay, fine, let's wait. But Wood has definitely got more upside. So, if you ask me, would I rather stash Wood or player X? It kind of depends, but if it's not somebody who you feel like is going to be up for sure the next month or two, just go with Wood.
All right. Sway 7 even. What's up? Feel like I haven't seen you in a while. I've got two questions. Are you dropping Grissom for Colt Keith or Lamaho? Amahu?
LeMahieu.
LeMahieu. So yes or no?
Yeah. Von Grissom, just very weak. In fact, I had to make some hard decisions on my teams. And dropping Von Grissom is one of those because I was super high on him. I don't know if it's just the recovery still from the hamstring. He should be fine. Or if he's just not acclimated to the AL or what. But yeah, I think I've given him probably too long of a leash. I think at some point I just have to look and just say like this guy's hurting my team. I just have to let him go. Like it's not happening, at least not yet. Drop him for Colt Keith. Keith is hot. You're not going to get a ton of power necessarily with Keith. He did finally hit a home run, but yeah, I would drop Grissom. I think it's time.
All right, and then are we giving up on Evan Carter and buying into his teammate Wyatt Langford?
And that's the other tough one. Evan Carter is probably my two favorite preseason sleepers that haven't woken up. Yeah, Evan Carter doesn't seem like he's going to do much. And I just saw he was dropped down to near the bottom of the order. I mean, they're trying whatever they can, but it's just unless he has some sort of a second half surge, and his batting average is basically what you're getting from George Springer. And I just said you could drop George Springer. So, yeah, I think you can drop Carter too. Pick up Langford, sure. We'll see if he does something when he's activated.
All right. Good luck with that. Thanks for the questions. Tim wants to know, should he pick up Steele for Crawford, Pepio, or Ober?
No, I wouldn't rather have Steele than any of those guys. I definitely like Pepio. I mean, obviously you can go to the rankings. If you haven't checked the SP rankings, you can tell them exactly the order I like those guys, but I would rather have all three of those over Steele. I think Steele, look, he had his season last year. He was on my sleepers list and I liked him and he did break out. And this year I feel the opposite. I feel like it's like the pendulum swinging the other way. So far, he hasn't done anything to show that he's really even worth rostering. So, I wouldn't pick up Steele.
All right. There you go. Thank you for that. Tom wants to know, is Jake Meyer worth a roster spot in a 10-teamer?
10-teamer, you should be able to find a better option than that. I mean, he's kind of borderline worth rostering in a 12-teamer. In a 10-teamer, I would think you've got somebody with more upside out there. I mean, he's worth streaming right now, but in general, probably not.
All right. Back-to-back Nate, what is up? Which catcher would you choose out of Moreno, Sean Murphy, Jansen, Campusano, or Elias Diaz?
Good question. All right. Moreno, let's start with him. He's somebody I did just drop. So I'm going to say no to him. I'm finally done waiting on him to come around. So no to Moreno. Murphy is on the verge of being back behind the dish. I think he's going to be the first choice out of this group. Jansen, sorry, he doesn't play enough and doesn't have enough pop. Campusano, I think, is going to be, I'd say probably third with Diaz second. So if I had my pick, I'll go Murphy still here.
All right, go get Murphy. All right, Cerulean Dog, you did talk about him on the buy low. He wants to know, what is the deal with Pablo Lopez?
The deal is, if you can go out and get him, go out and get him. He's not a different pitcher than he was last year when he was one of the best starting pitchers. The ERA looks worse than it should be. The expected ERA is better. His strikeout and walk rate are excellent, and that's what I look for first, right? Look for that. He's really not doing anything differently. There's no reason to worry here. So I don't think there is a deal. I think it's just his ERA is not great right now. I think it's going to get better. So if you can go get Pablo Lopez, go do it.
All right. And then another trade. Well, here's a trade question. I guess that wasn't a trade question. Big boy trade. Harper or Julio? Who do you prefer?
Give me Julio because the power is going to come around and he gets you the steals more than Bryce Harper. I think Julio is going to be more valuable than Harper rest of the season. So give me Julio.
All right. Get Julio if you can. And then Al wants you to rank these players, although you kind of did in yesterday's video. It's a redraft 5x5 league. Not sure if that changes anything. Jared Jones, Crochet, Cole Reagans. How do you rank them?
Not a huge. I'll just say, first of all, yes, they are in the video, and you can see where I have them. But it's not a huge separation between these players. I know it's tempting to put Jared Jones first because he's getting more hype because he's a rookie. This is why he should be last. Okay. And trust me, I love rookies as much as y'all do, but I'm trying to be the voice of reason here. Cole Reagans first, Crochet second, Jared Jones is third. But again, it's not a huge difference between these guys. I really don't think people understand how good Crochet has been this year.
All right, Matthew wants to know. Now, I know you like Cutter Crawford, but if Cutter Crawford or Nick Pivetta get lit up again this week, are they droppable in a 10-team head-to-head points league?
Yeah, so bad timing there with Crawford. I talked about him, and I liked him a little bit better than Houck. I like him better than some of these other pitchers, and then he had probably his worst start of the season. It happens. Had he had a single bad start until then, no. I mean, he had been dominant, probably overachieving. So this is just normal regression. I'm not worried about Crawford because of one bad start. That's overreaction. You could drop him, but I think you might regret it. So no, don't look at it that way. I don't think you need to drop him. Don't worry because of one bad start. And you know what? The worst thing that happens, look, he could get lit up again. He could be going through something. It could happen. But a lot of times you see this happen. Somebody has a good pitcher, has a bad start, and then people freak out, and then they bench him or they cut him. And guess what happens his next start? He's back to being good again. So don't let it out. If he hurts you, twice in a row, okay, then you're like, maybe something's going on here. I get that. You are taking a risk, but that's pretty much what happens every single time all these players take the field. You don't know what's going to happen. So.
That is true. And then Matthew also wants to know, this is interesting because I've actually had this guy on my IL spot all year because I haven't had a need to drop him. I know they said he started rehab, but he still seems like a ways out. But is Gavin Williams a must stash? He's out there.
I'm not going to say must. He's one of those potential breakouts. But, man, when you get your season already cut in, a third of it's going to be gone before he even takes the mound. Again, this is somebody he's going to take some time to ramp up. He already was going to be a potential risk because, again, a young pitcher, inexperienced. I think you're probably not going to need to start him once he is activated, and then we'll see how it goes. So you probably don't need to stash him because even when he does come up, I mean, just no guarantee he's going to be great or anything close to great his first couple of starts. In fact, they might ease him back into things, right? 5 innings. So you probably could add him even after he's activated. So, I mean, you can stash him.
Yeah, I think he's only like 45% rostered on Yahoo. So he's probably not a lot of people out there picking him up right now.
Yeah.
All right, Raul just did a trade, wants to know your thoughts. Jazz for Yandy Diaz. What say you? It's a points league, and he needed a third baseman. Apparently, Yandy has third base eligibility at Yahoo.
Well, I'm glad you said it's a points league. In a roto league, you got to go with Jazz. But in a points league, this is different because the steals, aren't as important, and the walks and the strikeouts matter much more. So in a points league, and you needed it, I think that's a solid move. Yeah. In a roto league, I would say no, but in a points league, yes.
All right, there you go. And James Coffey, what's up? He also in a roto league. Well, I shouldn't say also. That was a points league. In a roto league, would you trade JD Martinez if you picked him up for free on waivers for the potential upside of Corbin Carroll? So you picked up JD Martinez on waivers. The guy with Corbin Carroll is like, I'm over this guy. Just give me JD Martinez. Are you taking the risk on Corbin Carroll?
Wow. All right. Now, this is a very intriguing question. Here's where you have to decide how much you want to gamble. Now, you're saying this is almost like getting Carroll for nothing, right? You're like, you picked up JD for free. You don't really need to start him is what it sounds like. Now, and I don't know what platform. I know most platforms, JD Martinez can't even play the outfield. He has to be at your utility spot, which kind of limits his value, right? If Martinez is just on your bench, or he could be on your bench, go for it. Take a swing, go for it, and see what happens. Because at the very least, Carroll should be able to get you some steals. I would do that if I could take a chance on Corbin Carroll. Again, no guarantees here, but you're not really losing anything here, are you?
Yeah, pretty well. Unless JD Martinez gets hot and Corbin Carroll never does, but yeah. All right, Raul with another one wants to know if he can drop Senga. He says pitching has been pretty strong this year. He just lost Josh Lowe, which is very disappointing because he had been playing great since coming back. And he's got his eye on Sonny Gray. So apparently Sonny Gray is just on the waiver wire. So would you drop Senga to pick up Sonny Gray?
Well, I can't imagine Sonny Gray's on the waiver. I mean, please tell me he's not. So if you're saying you can get Gray, Can you drop Senga? I mean, I won't say you have to stash him because he's still not close to coming back. I know he's kind of starting to throw, and it still might be a while. So I think if you need the spot, that's fine. You can drop Senga. Because I think specifically the issue with Senga, it's not like he physically won't recover. He'll be fine. But they're talking about his mechanics and figuring it out. It seems like there's a lot of more mental issues here that needs to be worked out. So that's got me a little worried. I've been stashing Senga in a couple of leagues still all year. And I'm keeping him for now, but I'm not going to tell you can't drop him.
All right, there you go. And what's up, Anthony? By the way, Anthony, I messaged you on Sleeper. If you have a chance, go check that out. He wants to know if Tyler Freeman from the Guardians is actually starting to be fantasy relevant. He does have that very, very nice multi-positional eligibility, which is very underrated, I feel like. So Tyler Freeman, let's see. Oh, this week, what's he done this week? Last 2 weeks, he's hitting 267, 11 runs, 6 RBIs, 2 steals, no home runs, though. Does have 4 home runs on the season, though. And yeah, he's eligible at every position except catcher and first.
Jack of all trades, master of none, which is can be very helpful sometimes. I will say I prefer another Guardian who is similar, except much more valuable because he actually qualifies at catchers, David Fry. Now, David Fry, you picked him up, right?
Yep.
Here's the thing with both Freeman and Fry and a couple of these Guardians infield types is they are exactly what they look like on the fantasy app. Is they're utility guys, right? They're guys who will play not every day, but every other day, and they'll play this position, that position, mix and match. So it's like you never really know what to expect from them. So it might be frustrating because they'll have a hot couple of games and they'll sit for a couple of days. So I think more valuable in roto, like season long, as opposed to head to head. In a weekly league, it might be frustrating, because you might have a player like that in your lineup and only plays, 3 times in a week. So I would say that in a roto league, or especially if you're in a deeper league where you need that kind of Swiss Army knife type of player, yeah, they have some value. But I don't expect Tyler Freeman to bust out any brand new offensive skill that he's never had before. I don't expect David Fry is going to wind up leading the league in, weighted runs created by the year ends like he is now. They're valuable, but only to a certain extent.
The reason why I went with David Fry, well, because he's red hot, but also that catcher eligibility is huge. Because my only catcher is Sal Perez, and just having a guy like that where if something happens to Sal Perez or Sal Perez is out, I can plug him in. But so anyways, yeah, I was pretty happy about that pickup. Although he did go 0 for 4 today, but he got me a homer the other day, so I can't complain. All right. Frank Antal needs stolen bases, batting average, and saves. Okay.
Is that it?
Look, saves. I'm starting. Can I drop Jordan Romano?
No.
The dude comes in non-save situations and just blows up my ERA.
Well, look, it looks bad now. He's with relievers. Let's just say this. And Frank, by the way, it sounds like you are a fantasy baseball player. Yes, at some point we all need stolen bases and saves, unless you happen to have that one guy who's leading the league in stolen bases, right? Batting average you could always use. So yeah, I think Caballero is solid. He's still going to continue to get steals. As far as saves, I would just say this: be careful. And I really, really, really try not to do this, but I still sometimes in certain leagues get sucked into picking up the closer of the week who's getting you 1 or 2 saves. And then as soon as you pick him up, he gets lit up and then he loses that job. Like, let's say whoever's closing for the Colorado Rockies. Right? I should know better. But anyways, don't overpay. Let's just start with this, Frank. Don't overpay for a closer. Right? It's okay to not lead the league in saves. So try to get a cheap source of saves. Who would I target in a trade? I'm probably not going to trade for a closer right now. Batting average and steals. For batting average, you're really going to have to try to buy low on somebody who's not leading the league in average, because people aren't giving up the hottest hitters, right? Unless they're really desperate for power. So steals and average. All right, let's look through. Now, you're not talking about a specific position either. So you're probably looking for a middle infielder. I will say, as far as batting average, you could try to buy low in like a Vinny P. I mean, he should be better, I would think, going forward. He's not going to get you steals, of course. I think it's a little too late in Julio. That would have been the ideal situation there. Austin Riley, I do think there's still a buy low window there, especially now. He continues to miss games. So he should be back soon. I think that, but you're saying you don't need power, but he should still also help you with average. Look, CJ Abrams, maybe this is a good time to buy low on him. So I would say that was probably your ideal target. Maybe a Frankie Lindor. Those are the guys I think you can trust that should help you with average and get you some steals the rest of the season. Once you get lower than that, you might as well just play the waiver wire, because you don't want to necessarily give up a big power hitter for kind of a fringy player.
All right, there you go. And Wilson, if you're listening, yes, CJ Abrams is a buy low.
Yeah.
And Anthony, yes, we did discuss the Ronald Acuna knee injury a little bit. Obviously, we don't have major details, but you always got to be nervous. Like, this is what I've learned. I mean, obviously, football is a different game. But when a guy in football, what I've noticed in football, if a guy has a non-contact knee injury and they like rule him out like almost instantly, it is almost always devastating. They said after the game, Ronald Acuna is going on the 10-day IL. Like, okay. Like, that's...
Yeah,
that
like immediately.
Yeah, like, we haven't even done an MRI, but he's going on the 10-day IL. Like, why is he already going on the 10-day IL? I mean, if it's just soreness. So, we'll see. Again, we're not Twitter doctors. We don't know. We'll see. Hope for the best.
Yeah, it's definitely more than soreness. You don't ride around on the ground in pain because you're sore. Yeah, it's more than soreness. But he did say, from what I saw, it's not like a couple of years ago where he said that he felt a pop. This time he did not feel a pop, for whatever that's worth. No pop is good, I think.
We'll find out. Let's hope. All right. Owen, speaking of David Fry, are you dropping Ryan Jeffers to pick up David Fry?
No, I like Jeffers still. I mean, I don't think his start is complete fluke. Of course, he'll settle down. I mean, he's already settling down, but I like Jeffers better than Fry rest of the season. And again, especially at catcher, just the plate appearances are so valuable. I know Jeffers is going to get more playing time than Fry rest of the season. So, no, I wouldn't do that.
All right, Jim, with a very important question, because it matters. It's very pressing. He's barely winning ERA and WHIP, but he's losing by 1 win. Knowing this, do you play Assad and Reese tonight to try to get that win, or maybe even 2 wins to win the wins category and hope they don't blow up your ERA and WHIP? How do you do this? You're barely winning 2 categories. You have a chance to win a 3rd, but you could also lose all 3. You could win all 3. This is like This is like roll that roulette wheel. What are you doing? He's already winning the week. He's already winning. He didn't say the score.
Okay, and this is why. So the Cubs. First of all, this is a trust issue. Do you trust those pitchers? And the game tonight's the Cubs and the Cardinals. So I guess we got the Cubs hat here. Okay, so the Cubs against the Cardinals. I feel good about the Cubs' chances to get a win. Assad has been really solid this year. I feel pretty decent about his chances to get a win. The only issue with Assad is he doesn't always go that long into games, that deep. So quality starts are an issue because he's a guy who, like, after the fifth inning, they start to look at him like, okay, this is right time to pull the plug. But that said, playing the Cardinals, I feel good enough that I think he could get the win. And do I feel good that he's not going to hurt your ERA whip? I think so. It's the Cardinals. I'm not playing Neris because he is very unlikely to get you a win in relief, and he can definitely hurt your ERA and your whip. So I'm definitely not playing Neris. I'm for the most part more aggressive and being probably overly optimistic with my players. So Assad, yeah, I'd go for it. I mean, I wouldn't call it greedy. Do you think that's greedy? If it gets competitive, I think you're being competitive. Yes. I mean, that's what's the point of doing this? You want to win, right? I mean, you want to win a little or you want to win a lot?
Exactly. All right, back-to-back. Nate wants to know, are you dropping Steele for Crochet or Musgrove? I don't think you're dropping him for Musgrove, are you? But for Crochet, I'm guessing?
I am definitely dropping Steele for Crochet. Easy.
All right, how about this one? Another Julio Rodriguez trade. You want Tatis or Julio Rodriguez rest of the season?
With Tatis, it's really interesting because, man, he's kind of underwhelmed too. And I know I was big on Tatis this year. I don't know that he's really going to come through the way I thought he might wind up being. One of the best, potentially, I said this, potentially the best player in fantasy. And now with Acuna out, who knows how long, he has his chance, but man, he's been kind of underwhelming. The batting average isn't great, only still in a few bases. So he's been good, but man, he does not look like a fantasy MVP. I would probably take J-Rod at this point.
All right, another one for Julio. All right, then Anthony says he's been stashing Garrett Cole in his main keeper league. Do we see him before the All-Star game? Do you think we see him before the All-Star game?
He says that he might pitch before the break. I think it's possible. So, yeah, I mean, that's a guy you just keep stashing. Yeah, you just have to stash him, especially it's a keeper league. So there's no question here. I think it's a good possibility he makes a start or two before the All-Star break. Probably not too much more, but yeah, I think they'll probably want to get him kind of in the swing of things, assuming he's ready with no setbacks before the second half.
All right, then G-Man. So Luis Matos has regressed, or maybe he's just a baseball player and they don't get hits every day. It's one thing I'm learning. Well, I already knew this, but are you willing to drop him for Kelenic with Acuna out?
Nah. I mean, I don't know. Has Kelenic done anything besides be in Atlanta that has made us think we should be waiting for another mini breakout for Kelenic? I'd rather have Matos. Yeah, I get it. He wasn't going to be on fire forever, but I still think I like him the rest of the season. Now, Kelenic might be worth picking up, but still, don't be surprised. He's still find a way to sit against lefties. They'll put Duvall or somebody else in there. So I'm holding Matos.
All right, and then it's kind of like keep, trade, cut, but it's start, bench, cut. So you got to start one, bench one, and cut one. Steer, Vlad, Cronenworth.
You got to cut one? Oh. I mean, you're not cutting Vlad. I'm still starting Vlad. I know I just railed against the Blue Jays. They've been bad, but at least he's hitting for average. I would say I would just keep starting Vlad. I would keep Steer on the bench and then maybe cut Cronenworth, but it's pretty close. I know I like Cronenworth, but I think Steer gets you a little bit more because he does steal bases. So it's close.
All right, there you go. Hopefully you don't actually have to cut one. Hopefully that was just for fun. All right, Alex, speaking of two-start streamers this week, Gavin Stone or Michael King, who you never know the box of chocolates, but the box of chocolates gets KC and Miami. It's the Marlins and the Royals this week. So are you gambling on the box of chocolates or are you just taking Gavin Stone?
This is also close. Like them both, but I'm going to go King. Not just because I love surprises, but so I know that King gets you more strikeouts than Stone, and that's going to be your tiebreaker here. And the schedule is actually really nice.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get with Michael King. You're going to get 11 shutout. You're going to get 7 shutout innings of 11 strikeouts against the Dodgers, and then he's going to get lit up by the Rockies. But, you got to roll with Michael King. All right, speaking of Gavin Stone, we're getting a lot of Gavin Stone questions. Verlis, which one of these guys are you dropping to get Gavin Stone? Wenzel Perez, Luis Garcia Jr., or Nick Lowe?
Nick Lowe?
12 team head-to-head, 5x5. Who's Nick Lowe? Nick Lodolo?
I don't maybe Josh Lowe? I don't know. But I'll just say I'll drop Perez. Perez was hot for a minute, but I don't think he's a must keep. So I will drop Perez.
All right, let's see. Because it looks like people are just, I don't know what these mean. Keep the 2 categories. Good pitcher. Okay, good pitcher to pick up in a deep league. Can't get right. Let's help him get right.
Can't get right. Well, I'll just say this. As deep as your league may be, as deep as it gets, don't get too desperate to start picking up like an Oakland A's pitcher or something like that, right? Just saying, let's see who's a deep league option. Wow, hold on. I have to make a move in our league. I just noticed somebody was dropped and I don't know why, but anyways.
Yeah, but he's not available for a few more days, so.
Yeah, got to make sure I pick him up before anybody else here does. All right. Cole Irvin is a possibility. Now, I don't know how deep your league is. He's 32% rostered, looks like. I talked about Alec Marsh at the very beginning. Ryan Weathers just wound up with another good start. I mean, we got to buy into it until he stops pitching well. So, but that's not super deep. We're going to go even deeper than that, deeper than Robert Gasser. We could go Bailey Falter. I know I was fooled by him a couple of weeks ago, but he has actually been solid since then. Somebody mentioned Cooper Criswell not too long ago. I think he's doable. Jose Soriano, we talked about him last week as a 2-star streamer. Not his best outing this last time, but he's still getting strikeouts. He's still mostly been good. I think Jose Soriano is still definitely somebody you can add, not regret. Taijuan Walker was one of my 2-star streamers. He's not really owned in too many leagues. And then I will probably talk about him on the waiver wire, but Tyler McGill just came back to the Mets rotation. He should be going for them every 5 days. I don't necessarily want to start him against the Dodgers. I think it's tomorrow, but you can probably start him going forward. So I think McGill would be, you shouldn't have to get much deeper than that because we're already talking 5% roster. Simeon Woods Richardson, 9%, really? Guy who's got a 2.5 ERA, 1.11 WHIP. Anyways.
All right. Apparently, this is the new thing. Start bench cut. Now we're doing shortstop edition. Bobby Witt Jr., Brian De La Cruz, or Gunnar Henderson. I assume is that Gunnar Henderson? Start bench cut.
Come on. There's no way. This can't. No. I refuse to do this. You can't cut any of these players, and you're starting all of them. Come on.
All right. So start Bobby Witt Jr., start De La Cruz, start Henderson.
Yeah.
Actually, that's
one of them
probably
can fit in third. One of them can fit at short. One of them can be your DH.
There you go. All right, Christian, his catcher is Heim and Sean Murphy. And, his catcher is Heim, but Sean Murphy and Ryan Jeffers are available. Which one do you prefer? And he's got no room to save Murphy if he's not available to come back.
I'm going to give the edge to Murphy still. So you can wait until he is ready. Just go with Heim for now. But yeah, I think I'll still put Sean Murphy first out of this group.
All right. And then unknown screwdriver making an appearance, just made a trade. He traded Cole Reagans and Jackson Merrill. He got CJ Abrams and Michael Harris. Thoughts?
That's a solid move. I love that the unknown screwdriver every week is making a massive trade. Like never stops. I love it. Always tinkering, which makes sense.
Right.
This looks like a win. Now I know your pitching wasn't your strength, if I remember. So, I mean, you had some good pitchers, but not like a lot of aces. But you got a good return here. I like trading Merrill to get a player who's kind of underachieving, like Abrams and Harris. This should be a win for you. So yeah, good move.
Good move. There you go. All right, we're running out of time here. We'll take one more from James Coffey. Would you drop Javier Assad for Garrett Crochet or Brian Wu?
Yes, either or both. Drop Assad, get Crochet, drop somebody else to get Wu. I want both those guys. I don't know who else you could drop, but yeah, try to get them both. But definitely yes.
Okay, and then Verlis was clarifying it was Lowe from Texas.
Nate Lowe, not Nick Lowe. Nate Lowe.
But you're still saying drop.
Yeah, I'll still drop Perez.
Okay, still dropping Perez, and then I lied. One more. Christian Scherzer and Sanger are on his bench. Would you drop one of those guys for Crochet?
Yeah, I am. I would say right now, drop Scherzer. I mean, the big unknown. When is he going to pitch? What is he going to look like when he returns? How long are they really going to have him out there? They're just saving him for the postseason, aren't they? So, yeah, I can let go of Scherzer.
All right, there we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. It was a ton of fun, as always. Don't forget, if you haven't checked it out yet, if you have questions about where your pitchers rank, go check out the starting pitcher rest of season rankings video that dropped yesterday. And, of course, tomorrow we'll have Panic, we'll have Beat the Breakouts, prospects you need to stash, waiver wire, buy low, everything to help you this week. And we'll be back streaming live on Wednesday. And again, if you haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy yet and you want to get your baseball fix a different way, go try it out. Make sure when you sign up, you use promo code ENDGAME so you take advantage of that special free pick'em plus the deposit bonus up to $250 in bonus cash. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday.